Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay. Good evening and welcome everyone to the Planning Commission meeting for March 10th, 2022. Thank you to staff for putting this together for us and thank you all for being here. If you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we are thankful this day for the time we get to spend together as a planning commission and for the time that it affords us to work on things for this city and for the citizens therein. We ask a blessing to be upon us so we can make wise decisions, that we will be mindful of those neighbors and those who are within our city boundaries. And we ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay. Straight to it. We have a new planning commissioner.
We do. We want to introduce Logan Blake. And I'll take just a moment and then we'll let him talk for a moment. He didn't have a lot to share last night with the mayor and city council, but Logan was appointed by the mayor and city council last night. He's a civil engineer who works in the area, and he was born and raised in Santa Clara. And I believe from your bio, you attended Southern Utah University. And other than that, I'll let you go ahead and take a moment if you'd like, Logan.
Yeah, I'm a local boy. I have some deep roots from Santa Clara and did grow up here. So I'm glad for this opportunity to serve on planning commission. And I think I know a bit about how land use works and everything. So I think I'll be a good member for the commission.
Thanks, Logan.
Excellent. All right. You want to move straight into this working agenda today?
Sure.
I'm all for it. Public hearing. Tell us all about it, if you would.
All right. I believe it's on the overhead, and why don't we go ahead and pull the plat up if we go down. This is for the report you've seen. We'll go to the plats. Let's go back one to the original plat. There it is. So the original Giovingo plat was 3 lots in size. The applicant's proposing to amend lot 1 by subdividing it to create lot 1A and lot 1B. Let's go ahead and go to the new plat. I think we'll scroll up. One more. There we go. And so you can see the proposed lot 1A and 1B. Right now, the Quenchit building has been built and is in place. It includes 4 tenants. The Quenchit is open for business now. There's a Thai restaurant coming, and then a medical office use in the other 2 tenant spaces. Lot 1A is the new lot that would be created and sold to another developer or owner that would like to go ahead and build the approved building for that location. As the Planning Commission knows, the site allowed for 2 buildings. The second building will be similar in size and scale to the first building on 1B. It will be located on 1A on the western side of the site with parking in front. And then lot 2 will remain as is. You've seen some site work starting to occur there. That's the O'Reilly's. And then lot 3 is the existing Dollar Tree. One of the things that they changed on this to upgrade the plat was the true location of the 50-foot access agreement, cross access agreement for ingress and egress to and from the site. It's actually located as shown between lot 1B and 2. That's where that access goes to get in and out from that location to access Pioneer Parkway. And then you see the vehicle access easement along the back. It was 30 feet originally. You see that on lot 2 and you see that on lot 3 that provides access to Rachel Drive. The one on lot 1B has been tapered down to 25 feet, which meets our requirement for a private drive aisle or driveway, providing access to 1A for the future development of that site. We did post the property. We may have a resident or two that's here today to speak to it. I've not received any calls or emails, but we have met state code public noticing requirements by posting the property and putting notice out on the state website, as well as our website and other locations. As far as the state code consideration, we had to send a notice out to all property owners within the subdivision for a plat amendment. So in this case, it's the lots within the Geovango subdivision. We posted that notice, we put it on the public website, and then by state code, we have to post it with a sign, which we've done. So passerbys or people driving by can see that there will be a public hearing on the item. We believe that the amendment meets our code requirements and don't necessarily have concerns with the subdivision plat amendment that as proposed. Planning staff recommends that the Santa Clara City Planning Commission recommends approval of the amended final plat for the Geovango commercial subdivision to the City Council, subject to the conditions as outlined in the staff report. There are a total of 5. And so I'm going to turn it back over to the Planning Commission Chair. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
I don't have any at this time. Let's just go ahead with this public hearing and see if
Okay,
it has any
we can
comments.
go ahead and open that up. Thank you.
Okay, then let's open the public hearing for the amended plat for the Geovango commercial subdivision. Do we have anybody here for that? Come on up and state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Lisa Jaramillo. My address is 3676 Sagebrush Drive. Can you go back to that plat, please? So I have more questions than comments, if that's okay. So my house is, if you look at that plat right now, and there's 3 houses that are straight across, and then there's the one that's kind of has a catty corner kind of yard. Ours is the one next to that.
Which lot?
I'm sorry, I can't see that far up there. I don't even know if I can see now. One more over, like take the pointer one more over. There we go. Lot H. One more. Yep.
So you're lot H20?
I'm H19.
So one more over?
Yep.
Okay, so you're behind the new Quenchit building.
I am.
Okay.
Okay, so with COVID, obviously there must have been another hearing because the last hearing that we were at, the Quintet was supposed to be in lot 1A. And somehow it got moved to lot 1B, and we didn't even realize that was happening. But we did listen in on the city council meeting. Unfortunately, it was online, and we filed some oppositions or some inquiries that were never addressed to that whole thing. Because if I remember correctly, before COVID hit and the last public hearing that I was at, there was concerns that there wasn't enough parking spaces. And that between the 2 lots, because of the buildings that they were intending on building, that there was going to have to be some agreement with lot 2, the O'Reillys, to even allow for enough parking to occur. Has that happened? I mean, I understand that this is to talk about selling those 2 or to sell off 1A. I get that. I understand that. But my concern is that there's not a lot of parking in 1B. And with Quitchen opening on Saturday, this last Saturday, I don't know if anybody here saw it, if anybody monitored it. There was cars all the way out on Pioneer Parkway.
You know why? It was our grand opening and they were giving away free drinks.
Free stuff.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a unique situation.
Swig was similar. when they
I
opened.
don't know
Yeah.
that that's true. Looking at places here in the St. George area, and I don't remember the name of the place down by the university. I think it's a Swig.
It's swig. That's not relevant to our neighborhood.
It's relevant in that every time you go by there, the cars are backed up and they have to have people out there trying to get the cars to move through. If they plan this building correct or this business correctly, they would hope that they would have cars, especially during all the softball tournaments, the senior games, the parade of homes, the summer heat. They would have cars that often, especially on like Saturday.
I understand where you're at. Your question is not relevant to the splitting the lots.
I think yes, sir. I do think.
It wouldn't even be to this point if there wasn't enough parking and enough proper access.
No, so that's not.
This project meets all those codes.
I don't believe that's true. And what
Okay,
I-
so if you don't believe it's true, I want you to tell me what codes it doesn't meet.
My question to you is, what is the number of parking spaces required per square foot in any type of business building?
Okay, so let her ask her questions
Okay,
and then
I'm
I'll
just
try to
confused.
answer
I'm
them.
confused at what her
Right,
question is.
that's not, we're not reviewing the site plan and the number of parking
Right.
spaces this evening because that's been done for the O'Reillys, for the Dollar Tree, for the Quinchette, which is in the right location. It was lot 1, which is now being divided to include a 1A because the owner is only able to finish the first building and doesn't have the means and is under contract with somebody else to do the second building.
Right, okay.
That was required. There's some shared parking between the two of them as well as shared access. And actually O'Reilly's is overparked. They have a lot of parking on the O'Reilly site that's coming soon. You can see it's a 1.35 acres for one use. So there is more than ample parking on the site, but I don't have all those numbers in front of me. And so if the resident, I'm sorry, Lisa, if Lisa has more questions, that's something she can look online and she can talk to us at a later date or file a grammar request to get the records that would show all of those proceedings that have occurred in the past. But at this point, we're 75% constructed. The full permit on O'Reilly's is a deal that's going up. It's just this one building that's yet to receive a building permit. So
I'm just trying to figure out what the
Yeah.
question is, I guess.
yeah.
Okay, so my question is that originally there wasn't supposed to be enough parking. That's what was said in a planning meeting 2 years ago. And you were there and I was there. And the concession was that there would be joint parking between 1A and 1B because it was the same owner of the same land. Now someone is coming and saying, let's split this lot. Let's sell it off. Okay. And there's no guarantee that whoever buys 1A is going to be agreeable to allowing parking from 1B or buys 1A, that 1B's people can park in 1A. They may say no, they may decide to put a curb there, or they may decide to put landscaping, for goodness sakes, right?
They can't.
They can't.
Okay, what's to keep them from saying you can't park in our parking area?
They can't do that either because shared parking agreement is part of the plat register
Correct.
and recorded plat.
Okay, that was my question.
So generally we give, it's up to the planning commission chair, 3 to 5 minutes for
Mhm.
residents to ask questions on an application. So we'll
Yeah.
let you get to your other questions.
We just try to keep it concise.
And that's fine. And I understand that. I guess my comment on all of this is that it just seems like somebody started building something. It switched completely during the COVID proceedings when residents couldn't really come and make comments and there wasn't any way to do it via the televised session. And now all of a sudden they want to sell this. They've already started developing. So my question to you as the planning committee, and sir, I'm sorry, I find you a little bit defensive about this, is that I don't think there's been enough planning or enough thought to that traffic flow, regardless of whether Saturday was, oh my gosh, this will never happen again or not. I find
Yeah.
it hard to believe. I don't think there's enough room there.
I can address that in a moment when we get a chance. And then the applicant's representatives here as well. But
Yeah.
I can speak to that where I've seen it
Okay.
in other places and what's been done. It's a
Yeah.
good point.
Okay.
We can get to that.
Okay, so last comment is that please be aware that the way they built that drive-through is so tight that with the large cars here, and I'm not critical, I have a large car, they are hugging bar to the left coming in so they can make the swing around there. And there's no way for cars to be getting out. There's no way for other cars to get into those lots. And there's no way for cars to get out. And I don't know how that's not a public concern. As far
Okay.
as fire concerned, they've also built a post box right there. So that's going to be another deterrent.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Anyone else?
I would say let's give the applicant's representative an opportunity to speak.
Okay.
If he's willing.
Let me check and make sure we don't have any comments online. Okay. All right. Mr. Applicant, do you have anything to say or add to this discussion?
My name is Spencer Richens. I'm here representing Melanie Huscroft. She's the owner of the project. And I would just respond to say that the Quench-It was always planned to be in the building that it was. And I think if the citizen does the CRAMA request and gets the information, she'll see that it was not ever changed. The other thing, as far as the stacking and the loading on the drive-through, it was very much thought through. I do realize that when she had the ribbon cutting ceremony and the Chamber of Commerce came out and the community came to support this business owner, there was a lot of people there. But since then, I've talked to her a couple of times and I haven't heard of any traffic flow problems since then. I'm sure she probably hopes, as the business owner, that she would have that concern, having too many people want her drinks. But it was engineered. Eric McFadden, he's done a lot of work here in the city and does a good job. It was thought through, it was anticipated, it was planned for. So again, the reason for the lot split, as all of you are aware, with the increased pricing with construction products and the demand on supply, and it's pushed the cost of building significantly higher. And Melanie, the owner, wanted to be able to sell the other pad. And in order to sell the other pad, we needed to do this plat amendment. Also, I wanted to point out the cross parking agreement was in place out of convenience, but we've always met our parking requirements as per the city's code. There was no need to do the cross parking agreement. We did do it, however, with the O'Reilly. In fact, to help the O'Reilly with their traffic pattern, that's why that easement got moved in between lot 2 and lot 1. Because of the delivery trucks, we didn't want them to have to be coming in at the end of lot 1A and around the back and in front of all those houses and then back into because as you know, a lot of these delivery trucks make their deliveries at night when the parking lots are clear. So it was a much easier in and out situation, and that's why we moved that access. That was for and in behalf of the O'Reilly when we did that. So any other questions?
Not for me.
No, you'll have to come up
Yeah.
to the podium and address the planning commission, and that's up to you, Chair. Are you done, applicant? Are you,
Unless they have any questions.
No.
I think I'm good.
she needs to speak into the microphone when he's
Yeah.
done.
Let's,
Can you tell me where the trash dumpster will go, since 1B and 1A are now being split between owners?
yeah,
Is
go to
there
the
an agreement on
pretty
that?
picture with the colors.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's there.
Perfect, thank you.
It's right at the end of the driveway. Right there,
All
right by
right.
the marker, right there. That's the dumpsters.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, no other comments at this point? Then we will close the public hearing and we will discuss this and answer maybe some of those questions.
Well, I think the best method would be to, if Lisa wants all of that information, would be to file a grandma request, and that will be provided to her. That's the mechanism that we have to get that information to residents or developers or people that have interest in a project. That would be the most accurate way to get the record. As far as the spillover into Pioneer Parkway, I've seen this happen in locations, especially during grand openings and free drinks. I mean, those cards were going out like none other for free drinks or free treats. So people are going to take that up, especially people with families. So it's probably a one-time event. Some of the mechanism I've seen used in the case of UDOT Road, if you tell UDOT, they get really angry and they send people out and discuss that with the owners, and that usually changes habits. In this case, it's a city-owned road, Pioneer Parkway. Some mechanisms we could use, which I don't want to use, are potentially pulling a business license or things of that nature until it's cleaned up or until they bring people out to direct the traffic. I've seen other locations, I live pretty close to Dinosaur Crossing where the swig is. And then we also have on River Road or Riverside Drive, it's actually River Road, problems with Chick-fil-A and a lot of those places. We know In-N-Out gets a lot of drive-through traffic. It's likely that if that continues to occur, they're going to have to figure out which way it flows and have people outside helping them take their orders and move them through the drive aisle, in a good fashion. But we'll see if that happens. If we get a lot of complaints, we'll take a look at it. But we have stacking for 10 or 12 vehicles, and that's the norm. The parking meets code requirements and actually exceeds it. I know in the case of O'Reilly's, because we recently did full permits with them, they were proposed, they were required to do around 30 spaces and they had like 45, so it was quite a bit overparked with the idea of when Dollar Tree at peak times, like holidays, they might need a little parking over here and Riley might need a little over here, but it all works and it all flows. And I think there's good points of ingress and egress for flow in and out of this site. And I think it's a good project, and that's where I'll leave it at this point. Any other comments by the Planning Commission or questions? Okay, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Okay. I guess I do have one more question. You did make a comment about that they would be building the exact building that was presented before, which is essentially just a duplicate of the.
Yes, that's what the agreement is, and that's what's in place. If they propose to change it, then they would have to go through a process and a public hearing with you guys.
Okay.
So they need to build as per plan. Otherwise, there's a process.
And that's all in the development agreement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Great. That's for me. Nothing else from the commission? Okay. On our agenda then, we are at general business number 5. 5A is a recommendation to city council. You guys have a reason why we wouldn't recommend this?
No.
Pretty easy one.
Pretty straightforward.
Okay.
All the recordings in place with the
Mm-hmm.
parking agreements and your development agreements in place, and everything's done that way.
All right, then. I will take a recommendation.
I make a motion that we approve the subdivided lot 1 into lot 1A and lot 1B as per the staff recommendation, contingent upon verification of the development agreement and subsequent parking agreements be recorded with the plat.
Excellent.
I'll second that.
Got a first from Mark and a second from Curtis. All in favor? Aye.
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 That was unanimous. Okay, number 6, discussion items, chapter 17.16 of the land use. This is where it gets fun.
Thank you. We wanted to bring this back to you for another discussion. We have not had a chance to discuss it with the city council yet. That will probably happen in their next work session, and then it'll come back to the Planning Commission at a later date, likely in April, for your consideration and a public hearing. We had a chance to briefly discuss it 2 weeks ago. And I see Christelle's opening that up. Thank you. I couldn't read it otherwise. So again, this kind of goes into those areas that we've recently discussed where we're doing some cleanup. As you know, we recently have updated chapter 1712. It came to you at our last meeting, the Planning Commission, the changes to the Planning Commission. That was actually adopted and approved by the city council last night at their meeting. So that is in place. The next item will be this 1716 land use authority. Matt Entz has been working on this with us along with Victoria Carlton, and Cody's had a chance to review it as well as myself. Some others are still taking a look at it, so there could be some comments. But I want to give you a chance to ask any questions that you have. So as you can see in this right there, item B, above it says the Planning Commission shall be the land use authority to hear and act on land use applications set forth in section 1712-090 and as delegated to the Planning Commission by the City Council. So that's the ordinance that was adopted last night by the council. So that ordinance is clear as to who the land use authority is, what the Planning Commission's duties are as land use authority. again, conditional uses, reviews of variances and other items. And then you guys are a recommendation body to the city council for items like rezonings, code amendments like this, a general plan update or a general plan amendment, a lot of other items that are considered legislative, that you guys actually are the recommendation board or authority that recommends approval to them. And so we do that with each meeting, like we just had a plat amendment. You know, a plat amendment, we've seen quite a few of those recently. You guys review it. We have the public hearing here. The planning commission holds the public hearings for most of these items, and then it goes to the council as a public meeting, and they can decide to approve it, or if there's residents, then they can open it up and take comment and then make their decision. It just depends on the circumstances, and it's up to the mayor and council. So this is making clear that we're referring to the other ordinance that we just adopted last night, but it's also putting some provisions in place. If we scroll down, Christelle. Right here, appealing a land use authority's decision. So right here is what we talked about last time. This is where we're proposing some changes. The appropriate appeal authority, according to the type of appeal, is set forth in this chapter and delineates this authority between legislative and administrative proceedings. So let's scroll down. Did it skip a whole bunch? Yeah. Okay, I need the yeah. Okay. So legislative appeal authority appeals from land use decisions that are identified as legislative matters and subject to legislative proceedings are defined herein and shall only be appealed to district court pursuant to Utah Code Section 109801. And the following types of applications are for legislative matters are like a general plan amendment application, a land use ordinance amendment application, zoning map amendment applications, rezonings, official map amendment, temporary land use, combined land use, and zoning map amendments, all other code sections and uses as specifically delegated by the city council. So this appeal authority is going to be district court. So that's where items like that would go. So if we adopt a new general plan or we approve a rezoning that creates controversy, and there's a neighborhood group that wants to file a petition or they're against it, they would appeal that in district court. That goes right to district court. The other items are administrative appeal authority, and that's also pursuant to Section 109A701. The city has appointed an administrative hearing officer as the city's appeal authority to hear appeals from a request for a variance from a land use decision, a building permit or application, determination regarding non-conforming uses and non-compliant structures, determinations of violations of stormwater ordinance and any civil fines or costs imposed, appeals from a fee charged in accordance with Utah code, all other applications for necessary approval, permit, or license required by the title, all other code sections and uses as specifically delegated by the city council. So these items will go to a land use hearing officer, and that individual is someone that the city would hire under contract. You know, they cannot.
We just discussed the parameters of that individual.
Right, we did, and there's a couple that weren't here. Just briefly, generally that's a person with a land use background. It could be a retired city planner. It could be a retired city manager or other administrative official with a background in public administration, and a lot of times they're attorneys. You know, and some are. I worked with one recently for the past couple of years that was a retired attorney that did this for fun, but he would take cases as a land use hearing officer because most cities, I think it was his spending money. He talked about going down to spring training. So apparently baseball's reached an agreement, but he said, I get my money and then I go down to spring training. Anyways, down in Phoenix, but, you know, those individuals would come in and, you know, we would put an agreement together and there's an hourly rate, and generally you have a couple so you can rotate. But those are the folks that we need working with us to hear appeals of those nature. Those items shouldn't go back to planning commission or shouldn't go back to the council if they don't have to. They can go to a land use hearing officer to make a decision. Now, that individual a lot of times will agree with the planning commission or city council, but on occasion they may repeal it back to a planning commission or city council for reconsideration. That does happen once in a while. not too frequently. I've dealt with it once or twice. It doesn't happen a lot, but it can happen. And most cities are moving to a land use hearing officer because board of adjustments are kind of going away. Having a 5 or 7 member board that only meets 2 or 3 times a year because there aren't a lot of variances, there aren't a lot of applications coming in. So that's kind of where we're at. I know there's some other items here that get into more statutory regulation and requirements. I don't want to be too technical, but what questions do planning commissioners have on this that I could try to answer this evening, if you have any?
My first thing is it takes it. My question, you answered it because it was similar. It's the same individual that we talked about previously.
Yeah. Correct.
And
yeah,
so it takes you off the hook of having to be that, or you off the hook, or us. But is their decision final? Where does it go from there? I guess would be my.
Yeah, well, it can be final, or that decision can be appealed to district court. I've seen that too.
Court, just the same as we talked.
Right. If somebody's really angry and they don't get, the answer they want or the decision they want, they could appeal in district court. And that's what this talks about. Generally, they have a 10-day period to appeal. Some appeals have up to a 30-day period, but, legal counsel will help guide and direct us through that process as needed. Like I indicated 2 weeks ago, I worked for a community that went through that process. And actually the judge in district court found in favor of the residents, and that project died. And the residents were successful in that case. And so that developer sold the property and flipped it to somebody else. And so it can happen on occasion. But you get into a little messiness sometimes, because sometimes if it's a large project, a developer or a property owner may file countersuits against residents that are trying to hold up their project, or sign petitions or appeal and hold them up for 6 or 12 months or even longer when they feel like they've met the requirements and they want to build their project. So there's give and take with these things. So,
Yeah.
My question is it, who pays for this authority, the appeal authority for the administrative? Like, is that part of the application?
the applicant does. There's an application and they'll pay a fee to go before the land use hearing officer. I'm not sure if we've calculated that fee that's to come. It's generally a few $100s, because you're bringing in someone and paying them, and then they have to make a decision and put it in writing. Generally, they give that decision. They have up to 10 days to do the decision, but generally they come within a week. But, a decision can be pretty lengthy. That's the other difference between a board of adjustment and a land use hearing officer. A board of adjustment would grant the approval or denial that evening on either a 5-member or 7-member board. A land use hearing officer doesn't do it. It's us with the record that was available. No new information can come in. It's basically appealing the decision that was made with the information that was available to the planning commission or city council at that time.
So the immediate evidence is presented.
Correct. So they can't be bringing in a bunch of new evidence. It's the evidence that was provided for the decision to be made that they're appealing. So the land use hearing officer will hear from staff. They'll hear from the applicant and the appellant. The plaintiff and the appellant both get an opportunity to speak, and then the land use hearing officer will ask any questions, and he or she will then go and make that decision and provide it to staff, 5 to 10 days later, which we give to both sides. And then the decision's done. And then if someone's still aggrieved, they can apply in district court, which takes a long time. It's up to them.
And cost money.
Costs a lot of money, depending on the case.
Yeah, I liked that there was time limits based upon how soon they had to file, how soon they had to have a hearing and all that stuff.
And I really like the 10 calendar days, because I've seen 14 days and then there's a game played and then they submit on the 11th hour, and then one attorney says no and the other attorney says yes. And then, then you get, into a little bit of a mess there. So this is pretty, right there. You have 10 days to appeal after the decision. So,
yeah, I agree with that. I'm a fan of keeping business moving.
Right. Cody, did you have anything that you wanted to add to this evening? He looked at it and gave me some comments as well. So.
And it'd probably be good for that complainant not to start off with, well, you didn't build it the way it was presented, right?
Right.
Sorry, she pushed my buttons right out of the chute.
Yeah, you're right.
You've just got too many buttons.
So we have to have a discussion with the city council on this item, which we hope to do soon, and it'll come back to you after that. So it's likely to be April on this one because we have to have a discussion with the council before we can proceed. So
I think this is great. This is stuff that could really be damaging if it wasn't taken care of, and we're learning as we go.
right.
This is also what I asked for when I talked to you when you first came, was
Okay.
to be educated. I want to know what, why, and how come.
Right.
And also, I like anything that takes staff off the hook,
Right.
in my opinion. Not that,
Well, thank you. And, one of the things we're looking at too is you're probably aware of the Verizon case off of Malaga, where we have the silo and the cute little red maintenance structure. It looks like a barn. To me, it looks ag, it looks farm. Well, they have to reapply and go through a process because of the appeal that was filed in district court by some of those residents. And so we are looking to make sure we have the right provisions in place through Matt and through their legal counsel to make sure that it can be done fairly and accurately in case there is an appeal. So we're looking to move forward because we had one already. And here we go. It's
Right.
built, but yet they have to reapply and go through the process again. So we're going to hear a lot of the same stuff.
Mhm.
So, and
Yeah.
and we have some others, but that's all I have for you on
Okay.
this one. We'll talk in a minute when we shut down about 2 weeks from now, where we have quite a few items that are ready for the next meeting. But
Oh, great. I think this is well
yeah,
done.
we'll talk about that at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Cross 6 off the list and move right to approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
I reviewed the minutes briefly, and I've just been through them again a little bit while we've been talking, and I make a motion, we approve the minutes as stated for the record. From the last meeting on
February 24th.
February 24th.
Excellent.
I can second that, although I wasn't here, but did review the minutes. Everything looked good. There didn't look like I could see any inaccuracies.
Okay. Well, I've got a approval from Mark and a second from Curtis. All in favor?
Aye.
There we go. All right. And with that, we will close the meeting of March 10th, 2022 of the Planning Commission for Santa Clara City until 2 weeks from today.